Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestling News Weekly. I am, of course, Nick, and I'm, as always, joined by my buddy Myron.
Hello, folks. How y'all doing tonight?
Well, man, I'm not doing so great. Trying to get sick again, but if you're asking yourself why does Nick sound a little different, it's not because he's sick. It's because he's gone to another planet called Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes.
As I jokingly put on when I got on that plane, nobody goes to Omaha, Nebraska for fun. It's you're probably working, so yes, I'm in Omaha for some training, and that's an adventure in itself. We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
40-mile-per-hour winds yesterday with it 40 degrees outside.
Well, you're not the cold type, you know.
I'm not the cold type, Myron, but when the winds kick up 45 miles per hour.
Did you have to wear long pants?
I had on a suit, believe it or not. I had a tie and the coat, everything. So I was warm. That wasn't really the issue so much. But, man, Omaha, like I said, is an adventure in itself. And I'm not going to say that I'll miss it when I fly back home. Let's put it that way.
Well, is there any kind of local cuisine out there that's special or barbecue?
Steaks. Omaha steaks.
Okay, cool.
You always hear about them. I haven't had one yet. The company's Thursday night, we're going out to a big Italian restaurant. So a few of us have talked about tomorrow night. Maybe we hit a couple steak places, find a good one and, hit that. I've been told there's a couple up the street that aren't too bad. It's in a really cool areas, man. It's like a downtown market kind of place.
Well, that's cool.
Where the hotel's at, so it's pretty cool. So
cool.
Can't complain about the accommodations and the food and all that stuff. But as far as fun places to go, Omaha would not be on my top 10.
Well, I'll have to put that on my list. I don't see any reason for me to go, but you never know. You never know. Who knows?
You never know. I mean, maybe there's a show out here, and we make the trip out to Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, how long was the flight?
It was only a couple hours.
Okay, that's a good podcast listening time.
Yeah, I listen to. I'll give them a plug like they need it. I listened to the Steiner Brothers Big Papa Pump episode of Something to Wrestle on the plane.
Yeah,
pretty much got me all the way here. I had cheated and listened to a little bit at the airport, so I was a little short, but not too bad. So
that's cool.
And anything that can make a big boy airplane ride more enjoyable is always a good thing.
Yeah, because I need a little extra on the airplane, so I'm not going to lie. I need a drink or a Xanax or something to get me on a plane. I'm not scared of flying. I'm just, I get really nervous.
It's not that. I'm just not comfortable. The big dudes jamming us in those little seats are never a fun thing. So
yeah, I mean, I almost had a flight refuse to let me on because it was too crowded, and I was like on a little Southwest plane. I'm like, it's not my fault. Y'all the ones got the little seats.
But, man, anyways, we'll get to I know everybody's sitting here listening, like, we didn't want to hear you guys talk about being on a plane and flying and stuff. But there was one guy traveling this week. This is the big story for me, man. I don't know about you, but the news that I really wanted to talk about is I know I was super jacked about it. I've been trying to catch stuff in between training meetings. And when I saw the video of Chris Jericho attacking Kenny Omega in a New Japan ring, I ain't going to lie, I kind of marked a little bit.
Yeah, I have to mark. I did not see the one where Jericho attacked Omega, but I sure saw the one where Omega attacked Jericho. And, the killer part about it was Jericho was so passionate, so emotional. And it starts out, it is like a legitimate press conference for something. It's formal. It's got interpreters, whole 9 yards. It's a really, really cool experience. And then, bam, the thing happens. And then Jericho loses his shit. He cuts some of the best promos he's ever cut. He's so passionate about it. He's trying to make the reporters write down that it's going to be his Omega's last match in Japan. He takes a reporter's pad away and writes it down. It was so serious, so perfect. I could not have been more captivated by the whole thing. And
you know me, man. I wanted to ask you, I'm not a fan for language sake, but man, did that not help that promo?
Oh yeah, when he called a guy fuckface, and then he and then he yelled shit about something. Yeah, it really helped. It got that over. It was awesome. It was
real. It made it more real, which was cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead, buddy.
No. You go ahead. I'm just excited about that.
I mean, this is the build that they're doing for this Wrestle Kingdom 12 match between these two. They are doing a phenomenal job, and I know tickets are flying out of the Tokyo Dome. They're like, oh, are they going to sell this building out? And say all you want about all these other champions, this match here to me is the one drawing. It's going to draw the most attention from around the world. Because I know we were talking before we went on the air, and you're sitting here telling me like you actually are interested in watching this show.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen because I am not Mr. Japan. I just do not see it as, I don't see the allure. I'm not anything against it. It's just not my thing. But all of a sudden I get to seeing this, and I see that massive amount of emotion, and it. That's what wrestling was about. It was great. It is a very believable personal issue, and personal issues make money. That's good. I love that stuff. It reminded me of the older wrestling, the stuff I liked, Continental, some of the stuff from Memphis. It was good. It hooked me in, and they did a good job. And nothing else is doing that right now. Nothing is doing it. Because, my working title for this show, besides this Chris Jericho stuff, would be, the working title for the rest of the show would be, so have you seen anything new on Chris Lee Knows Best? Because the part I watched, where I taped and recorded wrestling, the most interesting parts were when Chris Lee Knows Best was on before the show started, and that sucks because I hate that guy.
Well, I'll tell you, man,
it's nothing to go.
Yeah, but this, like I said, this angle, man, I'm digging where they're going with it. And when we're talking about the build and the personal, they even drug in Don Callis, good friend of Chris Jericho. And he got attacked when he attacked Omega.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of like he's done. And then, Don Callis comes into the ring, and then Jericho attacks him too. So it's like, oh my God. And they even sold it. They're like, that's one of his best friends, So that was a really cool moment. I won't lie I was really, really impressed with that, like even that extra little bit of pepper, bringing Don Callis into the ring and having him jump. So that was really cool.
Yeah, they're selling it, man. They really are making it believable and making it interesting. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, I agree. But man, speaking of Don Callis, I know we addressed it last week on last week's show. Scott D'Amore and Don Callis being brought in as I can't even remember the exact title. It's something like executive vice presidents or something for Impact. They, we were real positive about it last week. We had a lot of good things to say about it. But man, how ironic. They were on Chris Jericho's podcast that aired last Thursday, like obviously the day after our show aired. I don't know, you said you didn't get to hear it, but man, those guys, they've sold me that they have the potential, those two, to turn around Impact.
From everything you've said, they're making the right decisions. And that's the most important thing, is to make the right decisions. Because the previous, not the Dixie Carter, the after Dixie Carter, the Anthem regime, they were really not doing a good job of setting a positive look for the Impact program. And they weren't wrestling people. And it just was not working for me. I did not like what was going on. I didn't like the way they were treating the talent. So,
yeah, and that's actually one of the couple things that I on my notes, and it's this is a lot for me to get it. Last week was a big Impact show for us, which we never do. I mean, but things like apparently the big shocker that I discovered on that, apparently Chris Jericho called Anthem and recommended Don Callis and Scott D'Amore for the job.
Well, if Chris Jericho if he recommended something to do with wrestling to me, I would think you'd have to be a fool not to take his advice.
Well, I understand, and here was the thing. I understand that some people are like, "Oh, they're his buddies." Well, the Moore's not, but Callis is. Maybe that he would be biased, but his whole thing was exactly what we were just talking about. They're not just wrestlers. These two guys got out of wrestling, went off and became successful businessmen. So they're successful businessmen who also, by the way, understand wrestling.
Hey, that's an incredible asset, man. That's an incredible asset to have. So.
Yeah. And, I mean, they understand things like, first thing right out of the gate is, obviously we talked about a little bit already last week, is the wrestlers get to build their brand, and when they leave Impact, they get to take the brand with them, continue to build it, because at some point they're probably going to come back into the fold, and that brand is even more valuable to Impact's brand, upon their return. It's, again, because you could just listen to these two guys and go, man, they get it.
Yeah.
They really do get it.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Be creative, embrace creativity, let the wrestlers have that viewpoint, let the wrestlers go out there and be basically advertisements for you. It's awesome. It's good. It's good for business. I really like what they're going to do. Hopefully it will translate,
Well, I mean, it's not, there's like, to give you an example, they were discussing the roster, what does it look like? They were like, look, we fully understand if we're building a brand of a company, you got to have a handful of guys who are your brand.
Uh-huh.
We're not just going to like bring in this guy from Canada, bring in this guy next week. He's not going to be here next week. It's constantly a revolving door. It's like you got to find 6 to 8 guys who are your core brand. Basically, they're your stars that you're going to build around, and so you'll have that talent, and then you can bring in youth from around, like from Canada. They've been bringing in. If you check out our buddy over at the Pro Wrestling Personified podcast, Lewis, he's got some interviews coming next week with some guys that are debuting on Impact. They're stars from Impact. He's had Tyson Dukes on.
Yeah, man.
Definitely, yeah. Go back to the archives and check some of those out.
It's like they're going right from the Impact recruitment placed right to Lewis. He's just killing it.
Yeah, it's a great thing for the network, man. We're real happy. And I just told him, man, just keep building that brand. And I mean, it's a really good thing for us. But I also think that mix of, they understand they need veterans, they need youth, they need stars, but they want to make stars. Like I said, they just understand that. But then here's the kicker thing that made me get, like, Don Callis, and I'm not going to go into detail on it because some people would be bored out of their mind. This would be something that Conrad would talk about when he starts getting into, like, numbers and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Don Callis, to understand business and wrestling and but business as a whole, goes into a conversation about China, doing business in China, about, yes, there's so many people there, yes, there's so many, but most people don't realize China's a communist country. China typically gives tickets away to events. People aren't used to buying tickets to events there. So you can go there. Basically, the government buys the tickets and just gives them out.
Uh-huh. So
you may go to an event that's a 30,000 seat arena and 600 people show up, but it was sold out.
Yeah.
And that's just, there's just kind of things like that. He understands specific things with India, with China,
Well, that's all different
television.
business models. It's how things are done differently. And if you're smart enough to go in there and figure out how it's done in other countries, you're into it. You're following it. It's great.
Well, I mean, but he's also brought up points on sometimes it's best to leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not going to be successful. Just leave it alone. Don't try to go in there because there's no money to be made there. Yeah. And guess what? You're a company and you're trying to make money.
Yeah.
So there's, that's the big thing. But I'm excited about some of the changes, over at Impact with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore and some of the moves next to the roster. So we wish them nothing but the best. We love Lewis as having a show to discuss, right? So,
yep.
And we also want to say thank you for all the fans checking out the Pro Wrestling Personified Impact Edition. Because, man, that thing's been picking up steam week after week. So,
well, I mean, if you want to know what's going on in Impact, Ring of Honor, NXT, that's the show to look to. And I mean, Lewis, I gotta keep going on this guy. Lewis knows how to go out there and get talent and he knows how to make talent feel welcome, and he knows how to build a great reputation, and he is absolutely killing it right now. I could not be more amazed with the way he's able to do that. Networking man.
Yeah, and like I said, building a relationship with Impact would be really cool. Especially with a lot of the guys that they're bringing in.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, we were talking about the changes. Some of the stuff going on. One of the changes has happened pretty recently. Everybody knows Rockstar Spud left.
Uh-huh.
Everybody knows at this point, pretty much the WWE's a done deal. He should be, hopefully jumping into 205 live anytime now at this point.
Yeah.
What's your take on Rockstar Spud jumping?
He's a very interesting character, and I watched him some in TNA back when it was TNA. I watched him on some of the Hardys. What was that thing the Hardys called their big event that was so interesting? The
Total Deletion.
Yeah, whatever they called it. And it was great. And he did a good job. He worked some interesting matches. And he was a good character. He's just a good character. And he has that connection to England, which is going to be so big, so big for wrestling coming up. He's going to be able to cross back and forth. And if they ever get that English program, he's going to be a natural person who can go back and forth between the United Kingdom program and the 205. It's great work. Good decision.
But let me ask you a question. If he joins 205,
uh-huh.
is he part of the Zo train, or is he become a new nemesis for Enzo?
Well, the thing with the Zo train is, I'm not on a Zo train. I'm not on what they're doing. Nothing against Enzo. Nothing against what those other guys. I can't get in that storyline for some reason. And I think if they put Nia Jax in it, I don't like it. But Spud is a character. I mean, he is easily a character that can work the charisma that Enzo's doing. He's that good. I think it's going to be whatever it's going to do. He is going to bring something to the program that they don't have right now. I think it's great. He's a hell of a performer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see him there. I'm hoping he's a nemesis for Zo myself, but that's just me. I think it'd be a pretty cool little angle to cut there. But anyway, so we wish him the best there in WWE, of course, as always. But man, somebody who doesn't need our luck or our best wishes, it seems, as of late, Mr. John Cena, a week after being sued by Ford Motor Company.
I have not heard another thing out of that.
Not a peep. I guarantee you that thing was resolved, and there won't be another word said about it.
Yeah.
But this week he gets good news because he's got Ferdinand, which is that new animated movie that's out. It was nominated for Best Animated Movie.
Mm-hmm.
So John Cena, movie star, Golden Globe winner.
Now, is he the main? Does he play the hero in this?
I believe he's the main voice. Yeah.
Cool.
So, that's kind of cool. I mean, John Cena, like I said, they're him and The Rock, man, taking over Hollywood.
Yeah.
One match at a time.
It's so good to see the business getting exposed because people see these guys and they're like, they were a wrestler, and maybe they go back and look at wrestling and maybe they pick up on something. It couldn't be better. Could not be better for the business.
I 100% agree with you. Well, speaking of best for business, let's talk a little Triple H. There was a little bit of controversy, flying around on the social media outlets, of course, as always, your Twitter and your Facebook. While over in India, Jinder does the job to Triple H. And, of course, the Twitterverse exploded with, the push is clearly over, and Triple H buries Jinder Mahal, and blah 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 blah. I was going to ask you, what was your take on all that?
You don't win in your hometown. It's the way it is. It's always been that way. If somebody like Charlotte won in Charlotte recently, and it's like that doesn't happen. That was a big surprise. I just expect you not to win in your hometown, and especially if they're all the way over there, and you're in that situation where you lose in your hometown, and it builds heat because now all the people in India want to see him. They want to see Jinder come back. They want to see Jinder, they want to see Jinder get his win back on Triple H or do better because they lost. The big guy lost in his own town. It builds heat. It's just good for business.
Yeah, I thought it was completely overrated. I mean, he lost to Triple H. It wasn't like they, jobbed him out to, Zack Ryder or, somebody like that. I mean, give me a break a little bit. I mean, that's, my only knock on it is give me a break.
Yeah,
I mean,
Triple H will go down in history as being one of the most important figures in wrestling history. I don't care if you don't care for him as a wrestler or you don't care for him as a person. You really can't discount his role. It's that big a deal. You can't discount his role. That man has had so much of an influence over wrestling. And if you lose to that guy in the basically the heir apparent to the company, it's not a big deal. The push is not over. I think the push has changed. The push is in a different direction, but it's not over.
I agree with you. I just don't understand that.
He's main eventing a pay-per-view this weekend.
Yeah.
So
he's getting another shot at AJ. I mean, we'll see what happens there, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But influence, the big man of the company. I wanted to talk about something for a second here. I mean, one of Vince's pet projects is honestly one of the biggest, to me, one of the reasons why I'm a big wrestling fan. It's WWE week on the USA Network. Uh-huh. And of course the WWE Tribute to the Troops is Thursday. But before we get there, NXT on tomorrow, tonight. Sorry. Well, actually, I guess you could download this while you're watching it on the USA Network.
Yeah, because when this program drops, the NXT will only be on for 5 minutes.
Yeah, so you can download this episode, during it, which I guess would kind of be contrary to say that means they would already have downloaded if they could even hear this part. But anyway, nevertheless, I mean, cool that NXT's there. In my opinion, the thing I really wanted to talk about is I'm a big Tribute to the Troops fan. It comes on every year right around Christmas. Yeah. It's Vince's baby. Everybody knows it's Vince's, project. That's something he's a big supporter of the military. Mm-hmm. He gets into politics obviously with his wife and stuff, but as a whole, it's just I'm going to do this for the troops, and he's done it now for years. So I'm
it's good. It's good. And you know what I read this weekend? Not this weekend. I read earlier tonight that his other pet project is Braun Strowman. And he has Braun Strowman under his wing, and the creativity and the push are coming directly from Vince himself. That's good business, man. That's awesome.
Well, we'll go ahead because we're going to segue into Raw. I mean, that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, the rumors are out there at this point. We know that on Raw, Braun wrestles Kane, supposedly winner gets Lesnar at Royal Rumble. We have the double count out. And every rumor that we're seeing is, yes, we're going to get Braun Strowman, Kane versus Brock Lesnar, a triple threat for the title. Now, the crazy part of all of that is that means you can, if you choose to get the title off of Lesnar, you can do it without Lesnar losing.
Yeah, it saves face.
Or the backup plan is Braun cannot win the title because Lesnar can pin Kane.
Yeah.
So there's an out where Braun doesn't have to lose, and Lesnar doesn't have to lose.
Only advantage in a triple threat title match is you can move the title around without shitting on anybody.
Well, you put the third wheel in there, which we'll get into when we get to Smackdown. You can put the third wheel in there so nobody, you can get away with not your guys that you think you're trying to protect losing.
Yeah.
So, and that's clearly the case. Speaking of which, we're talking about guys not losing, and this is no in particular order. I just wanted to, because I'm going to come to some ratings and stuff. But Finn Balor got a win at least over, Curtis Axel.
God, I hate what they've done to Curtis Axel. I mean, he's basically a comedic relief character, and that's Mr. Perfect Son. But it's good to see Finn at least getting some kind of momentum, because he has been the drizzling shits as far as what he's done since he's been up, since he's been up on the big deal, on the big show. I can't think of anything he's really accomplished. Can you?
No. Yeah, no. Trust me. That's another good story from the Something to Wrestle With story when he talked about this past week. They talked. You'll get a kick out of the story, so I got to talk about it for a second. Because you brought it, when we were talking about Curtis Axel, Bruce Pritchard says to Conrad, by the way, from time to time, Vince McMahon would want things, and it would be things like, I want a Dusty Jr. And they would say things like, you do realize we have Dustin Rhodes on the roster, right? He doesn't look enough like him. I want a short, fat guy with it. Put the splotch on the other side. And it's like, and then he would say things like, when Curtis, Axel comes in, it's like, he wants a Mr. Perfect Jr., but we have one. His name is, why would you want to call him Curtis Axel? He's, it's like he's Hennig. He's Kurt Hennig's son. He doesn't look enough like him. So he would want sometimes, to go out and find somebody to be a junior, and they would literally have the son or on the roster, but he didn't think they looked enough like him to be the junior.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have Kurt's hair.
And the funniest one of the whole time is it was like, how did names happen? Like when guys got to keep their names because they would run out of time. Like Ted DiBiase Jr. Was not supposed to be Ted DiBiase Jr. He was supposed to be something else. For 3 months, they tried to come up with a name and literally ran out of time. And they just went, fuck it, he's Ted DiBiase Jr. So it's like literally you got to keep your name because you just ran out of time to give him another name.
Oh,
because
man.
it came up because the Steiners were the Steiners. When they went to the WWE as a tag team, they kept their jackets, they kept all this, and they were still the Steiner brothers. So anyway, but I just thought that was, for some reason, to me, that was just hilarious.
Yeah.
But into the minutia that we'd like to throw in from week to week, Raw was all the way down to a 2.68 million viewer. That's pretty low to start the troop down. It was a 288, 261, and a 257 hourly. Kind of scary. It's like the lowest one since like June, I believe.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a shit rating on Raw. The second lowest second hour ever on Raw week or WE week on USA. They've still got 2 more shows. They've got Wednesday and Thursday. They've got shows running on this thing. Is this a bad sign for the rest of the week?
No. Tribute to the Troops always does a certain number. It's kind of right there in that wheelhouse. I think they know what they get with that every year, pretty much. But NXT I think will pop a little bit of a number just for the novelty of it.
I hope so.
So novelty draws. But I was kind of surprised, man, because I go ahead and tell you the Raw card didn't really scream excitement.
No.
Now I will tell you this: the Roman Reigns Cesaro IC title match was really, really solid.
Cesaro is so good. Oh my God, he is so good.
Come on now, give Roman his credit, man.
No, I'm not bashing Roman because Roman did really well, but Cesaro is amazing. He is an amazing talent, and he is so good. He is so strong that he just absolutely, he made Roman look good, and Roman is looking good. He made Roman look better. I think it's awesome. I really, really think it's awesome.
Now, I know you're a big women's fan, and one of the big things that went down this week, of course, is the final, the attack on Asuka from Absolution. Paige and her minions finally attack Asuka. And I know you weren't real happy with how they actually tried to resolve this issue. Well,
it came out there. First, there was a women's tag team match where the Absolution team won. Then you rolled over and you got this match where it's going to be a rematch with Asuka and Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox doesn't show up because, they put the camera on and she'd been beaten up backstage. Okay, I get that. Absolution comes out and starts putting a beat down on Asuka because it was hard because it's Asuka, It took, it wasn't easy for him to get him down. And they put her in this bad spot, and the whole women's locker room comes out. The whole Raw, heels and faces, come out against them. And it was, man, that's weird to see. That's almost like when they had the last pay-per-view, the Survivor Series, where the shows went against each other. The entire locker room was united. It was, how insane is that? And they ran them off. And you had a very similar run-in on the program tonight, where you had the team that's the Riot Squad. They were about to do to Charlotte what they did to Naomi, where they put her in that under their steps and did one of the I don't know the name of the move, where they pull them up and smack their head into whatever it is. Usually it's the ring ropes.
Like a slingshot kind of
thing. They slingshot them up. So it's cool. They did that. It's cool. They're setting her up. And Naomi. Lewis, words. Sometimes me know it words. So, okay, cool. Naomi comes out and stops it. So you're getting to see these two factions, which apparently are independent of each other, Raw and SmackDown, Absolution and the Riot Squad. But they're both drawing the ire of the entire women's roster. So you got that. You got the match coming up for Clash of Champions, where you've got Charlotte and Natalya in a match with a lumberjack match. So you've got the rest of these women outside the ring and the Riot Squad. Not a good chance that this match is going to go off without some violence outside the ring. So,
lumberjack matches always end. They are always end as a train wreck.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Can't wait to see.
Well, let's go ahead and move over to SmackDown and let's get rolling, because we are going to discuss a little bit of that Clash of Champions pay-per-view a little bit. But man, my question to you is Daniel Bryan turning heel on SmackDown? I mean, that's really. He's made himself the second referee in the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Nakamura
of a match. I can't.
And did you even notice? Even in the commentary, he was a little chippy with Byron Saxton.
Yeah. Well, he said that him and Shane have each other's back. But is it going to turn into some kind of anti-hero thing where you've got the evil Shane and you've got the little guy who is fighting back up? You know what we're setting ourselves up for? We're setting ourselves up for Shane and Daniel Bryan in some kind of evolved rivalry. And that even might mean Shane and Daniel Bryan having one of the matches at WrestleMania or something. Because think about it.
And remember, we talked about this. About this and said that
bad idea.
Match you want for Daniel Bryan.
Bad idea. But they're building to something that looks a lot like that. I mean, that's the only thing you're going to build to, because there's going to be some friction in that ring, and the two referees are going to wind up hitting each other. And it's going to go from there. And is Daniel cleared? Is Daniel going to be cleared? Is this what they were saving? They could just have been saving Daniel this whole time, to where they thought they needed him for a storyline. Daniel versus Shane. Ugh. Got to get him killed. He's going to get hurt again. Because Shane is reckless ass Shane. He's the boss's son. He can do whatever he wants to. He takes chances. He takes stupid chances. And he's going to take chances with Daniel Bryan, and that's going to be bad. My take on the whole thing. Other folks might not agree with me, but that's just my take on it.
And speaking of takes that everybody knows what my thoughts are, and I always have to bring it up, because other than this, SmackDown was pretty uneventful. I know you had a couple things.
Yeah.
But, of course, Rusev Day, defeats the Usos, because that's what happens to champs going into pay-per-views. They always lose non-title matches going in.
Non-title matches still the worst. The worst idea in wrestling. Non-title matches.
If you're the champ, the title's always on the line.
Yeah. It trivializes what they're doing. That is just my solid take on it. When you have the championship in a non-title match, basically the champion's going to lose, and it trivializes the belt. Yeah, it's not what it should be. If there is a non-title match, it needs to be setting something big up. And I don't just mean your monthly pay-per-view. You know, it needs to be an angle type thing, not your monthly pay-per-view. Because you're going to shit on it and do the same thing next month. That's the problem the WWE is doing right now, is they beat angles and they beat stipulations into the ground. To the point they don't have any impact anymore. Because that's... I don't know why, and I don't know what the deal is, but that's the way it seems. They take something and they just do it over and over and over again until it loses impact. And with a monthly pay-per-view, they do it every month. So.
And speaking of the monthly pay-per-view, this Sunday, Clash of Champions. We both, it's just sad. This is a couple times this has happened in the last couple months where we're like, we really don't care.
I cannot guarantee I'll watch this because I work this weekend and I get off at 6 on Sunday. I'm off on Monday. I honestly might skip it and just catch it on Monday on Fast Forward and not ruin my evening. Because if it's going to...
let's, I agree with you 100%.
Mojo and Zach, I really would like to see this. Is it going to be on the pre-match? I couldn't tell. That's a match I'm interested in. The rest of it, not at all. Not at all.
So I'll ask you real quick. Let's do predictions, and then I'll give you some more thoughts on it.
Okay.
Like I said, we care so little, it feels like at this moment. The Bludgeon Brothers versus Breezango.
Don't care. The Bludgeon Brothers are going to go over because they're the new team that they're working on and trying to put over. Yes, the Bludgeon Brothers. You brought up
Mojo and Zach. Who you got?
Mojo,
I agree. He's the heel. He's got to get some.
And if it's a pre-show match, he's undefeated on pre-show matches.
Yep. Charlotte versus Natty in the Lumberjack match. We both predict total chaos, but somebody's got to win, and you take
Charlotte.
Charlotte, of course, I agree. We're both fans. By the way, for the record, any match Charlotte's in, pretty much we're going to pick Charlotte because we both think she's probably one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah, she'll go down as the greatest female wrestler of all time.
You got the Triple Threat U.S., Baron, Dolph, Bobby Roode, which is where we talked about earlier, about how do you not have two guys if you don't want to get lose. And
if I'm watching this match or watching the pay-per-view, this will when I'll go poop. Because, this is going to be the most boring match ever. Even with Roode in there.
Is they could actually probably, you got Roode and Dolph in there who could maybe make this match a really good match.
Yeah. But
it's just, picking who wins. I mean, I guess you got to stay with Baron, don't you?
I'm going to go with Bobby Roode because he's the hot one.
Yeah, you could always put it on Roode by having him pinned off, and then Baron's got to complain that he lost his title without losing, which is what we talked about earlier at the triple threat thing at Rumble's rumor. The 4-way tag team clustermuck with New Day, Usos, Rusev Day, Gable, and Benjamin. Who you got?
The guys, those two guys.
I'm going to go Usos.
The ones I really like.
Yeah.
The tag team.
Yeah, tag team guys. Yeah. I'm going Usos because I still think pure tag teams are probably the best one in the WWE.
Yeah, they're a good tag team. I don't care for them. Can I ask you a question and
sure.
Think about this? There are a lot of talent on the roster right now that we like and we have high opinions of, and it seems like there's nobody to have matches with. And there's nothing interesting going on. Where is the fault? Where is it? Is it the booking that stalls it? In your opinion, something is stalling it, and I don't know what it is. But they've got the best stuff they can possibly have, the best talent they've ever had, and right now it's just not going anywhere. Where do you see it?
They're struggling a little bit, especially on SmackDown right now, but they are struggling for sure.
But is this one of those periods where you've got just a downtime, just because there's a downtime in the business?
Typically, you got to remember, we were here last year when we talked about doom and gloom. December's always a slow period because you're about to kick it in for the Rumble season. Here in the next few weeks, and then you put your foot on the gas and push the accelerator because it doesn't stop until Mania.
Maybe this is their time off. That might be it. Maybe they're just not worried about it. They're going into the holiday. It's Christmas. People's eyes won't be on it as much. Reasonable, because they're gonna do the holiday week show where there won't really be, that much stuff done. It just could be time. It could be time that they just let it all slip for a little while. I don't mind that,
Well, they've gotten big. If you've noticed, we've been talking about this. All of the cards are like 2-match cards. It's AJ and Jinder, and then Nakamura and Randy versus Kevin Owens and Zayn. They've done that with the last couple pay-per-views. Let's go ahead and pick those two. AJ Ginger's, I think, easy.
AJ.
I don't think you can take the bet. You could, but I don't see why you would. And then let's be blunt. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have to win this match because if they don't, they're fired. So
what is the deal with? You've got the Viper and Nakamura. What tag team is that?
And that promo was atrocious. Randy talks. They look at Nakamura and he's like, "Yes," and that's it. That's it. One word, bam, or whatever it was. So yeah, it's just. But anyway, man, that's what we think of SmackDown's pay-per-view, right? We can go through that pretty quick
and the thing is,
that's it.
It's going to turn around, and before you know it, it's going to be like, God, I love this stuff. It's great again. But right now, not so much.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's that lull before Rumble season kicks in, and then after the Rumble season gets here, bam, we're off to the races till Mania. So hopefully that's what we're looking at. So
what was cool? We got the first ever women's match in United Arab Emirates this week.
That you're right. That was true. It was pretty groundbreaking. I know some people had a few comments about should they've even been there, but Sasha Banks, man, in tears, and her.
If they're breaking down walls, I can deal with it. Yeah.
Whether they had to wear the long sleeves or not, I agree. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So let's. I'm going to let this one. I could be super critical. I'm just going to let it play out and see how it goes. Maybe it's going to be that. Maybe this is going to be the thing that's the icebreaker over there. So it's worth a shot.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Definitely.
But man, that's all I got this week. You got anything else?
No, it's just me bitching and making up stuff and talking about what I think it should be. And everybody's a booker.
Well, it's easy to be the booker on Wednesday.
Yeah. Instead of the Monday morning quarterback, we're the Wednesday booker.
Yeah, because you can sit there and you can come up with all the answers after you saw what didn't work Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah. Wednesday morning bookers.
I agree.
So, folks, I sit here and bitch, but I love wrestling, and I've always loved the WWE. Sometimes I get tired of what they're doing, but they always come back for me. They always do. They always have. So don't give up on it. It'll be there. Your favorite superstars will be super exciting again. And they know what they just know when it's going to be. They know what we want. They'll get it to us eventually. So between now and then, if you watch a shitty pay-per-view, remember the Rumble's coming up. And the Rumble always is a big time. So don't lose hope. Keep watching. Keep listening to this podcast. Because, we love you. We need you. We couldn't do it without y'all.
Well, speaking of all the above, man, you help us out.
Have you been doing your Christmas shopping, Nick?
I've been, luckily not doing Christmas shopping. Rachel has, but luckily Amazon's, the place where we buy a lot of stuff from. Uh-huh. That's where we were going to go.
Yep.
go over, take that bookmark, like we said, replace your link with our link that's on our website.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I've changed the website a little bit. A couple people sent me some messages asking me about it.
Yeah.
Changed it around just a little bit. So, but nothing too far that you can't figure out what it is. But that link's still there, still down there on the bottom. Go grab it. Take that link, replace your Amazon.com, use it. All your purchases from that point forward going through that link, we will actually get a little bit of commission. Doesn't cost you a penny extra. So definitely, we would appreciate that. Go over to ProWrestlingTees.com, get a shirt from the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network store.
Yeah.
That's...
Message me if you buy a shirt, and I'll do like every other big podcast does, and I'll give you a phone call.
And tell you what's up.
I don't know what we'll talk about. And what the hell? I don't know what we'll do. But I'll call you, or I'll call you on Facebook or something. But I'll say hello, and tell you how much we love you and we need you, because y'all are why we do this. So, I can't guarantee what I'll talk about, but I'll tell you something. Maybe I'll give you my wrestling picks. Maybe I'll talk to you about Continental. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Or I'll tell you about trips to Omaha and things that happen in Omaha, Nebraska. So, man, speaking of which, it's time for me to wrap this thing up and get some sleep. I got to get up here in about 5 hours to get ready for another day at school, training, whatever you want to call it. So, if you've got nothing else, I got nothing else.
It's time to tap out.